Hey there. Hey, anything going on? Anything in the news? Got to do a show. Oh, hey, the chat's here. Hello, everybody. It's Thursday. Great to have you with us. Holy cow. Yeah, we've got a busy news day going on, don't we? We have a lot to get to. The President of the United States with a massive speech last night to the nation. We'll talk about that. The idiots in Providence, Rhode Island continue their very obvious cover-up of the events of this past weekend, that terror attack inside of a classroom of Brown University. We'll try and cover that as well. But we may have some business to deal with, first and foremost, on this edition of Vince. We'll get to it. Great to have you with us, as always, the best audience anywhere. Thanks for being here. The sponsors who make all of this possible include expressvpn.com. What you do online, not private at all. Data brokers tracking and creating a profile of your online activities. And in the United States, they're legally allowed to sell that information to whoever wants to buy it. That means big corporations can buy and sell your info to feed you more advertisements. It's a covert way to make us all sheep. But there's a way to push back, and that's with ExpressVPN. That's what I do. You see, with ExpressVPN, 100% of my online activity is rerouted through secure encrypted servers, which makes it impossible for my internet provider to be able to track my every action. It's none of your business. ExpressVPN also hides your IP address, so data brokers can't use that number to build a profile on you and sell that profile. The best part is how easy it is to use. It just takes one click, and it works on all of your devices. You can even have it on up to 14 devices all at once. Pretty great. And you can do it just like I do right now. Get an extra 4 months when you use my special link. Go to expressvpn.com/Vince and get 4 extra months of ExpressVPN. That's expressvpn.com/Vince. Well, we get some big news, don't we? Yesterday, broken as usual by the President of the United States. Speculation has been swirling that one gentleman called Dan Bongino might be leaving the Trump administration soon, the deputy director of the FBI. Lots of reports this week claiming that that was coming, potentially, the rumors about all of this. Well, forget the rumors. Let's just hear from the President of the United States. Here's what he had to say yesterday, standing on a tarmac, cut 9, the President.
Oh, Dan did a great job. I think he wants to go back to his show.
Dan did a great job. I think he wants to go back to his show. Well, that heavily implies what comes next. And sure enough, the man himself, Dan Bongino, followed that announcement by the president shortly thereafter, and he made it official. Here's the message we got from Dan yesterday. This came to us around 5:16 p.m. Eastern time. Dan says, I will be leaving my position with the FBI in January. I want to thank President Trump, Attorney General Bondi, and Director Patel for the opportunity to serve with purpose. Most importantly, I want to thank you, my fellow Americans, for the privilege to serve you. God bless America and all those who defend her. After Dan made it official, Kash Patel jumped in as well. This is the FBI director, saying that Dan is the best partner I could have asked for in helping restore this FBI. He brought critical reforms to make the organization more efficient, led the successful summer heat op, served as the people's voice for transparency, and delivered major breakthroughs in long unsolved cases like the pipe bomb investigation. And that's only a small part of the work that he went about every single day delivering for America. He not only completed his mission, he far exceeded it. We will miss him, but I'm thankful he accepted the call to serve. Our country is better and safer for it. We will miss him, says the FBI director. By the way, I know that he's not alone. I've already talked to sources this morning telling me that they too will miss Dan Bongino inside of that FBI, that he has been a patriotic force for good, and he's effected a lot of positive change. This is a very difficult agency to try and clean up a catastrophic mess that has been created by the American left's many abuses of an agency that's dedicated to federal law enforcement, or at least it should be. Instead, it's become a tyrannical force for evil over the years, and Kash and Dan, really two of the best to even go in there to possibly do anything about this. Look, I know this year there's been a lot of people trying to crap all over these guys, trying to suggest that they somehow are compromised or that they had failed us or whatever. As you know, if you've been with me all year, you know that I've consistently said that this is just a bunch of nonsense. These guys are patriots, and they're swimming upstream in a world that desperately wants them to fail, desperately wants them to fail. And they've got a lot of successes to show for their time there. I'm not relying on the legacy media for this. They lie to us consistently. The reality is Dan is leaving at a time where he's got a lot to be proud of, candidly. Remember, earlier this year, there was some chatter that maybe his differences of opinion with Pam Bondi were going to lead to him leaving the FBI. That was very early this year that those stories were coming up. And at some point in the very near future, you're going to be able to hear from Dan, who'll be able to describe all of this. But when that was happening, I remember thinking at the time, and I think I conveyed to you at the time as well, it just would not be a good time for Dan to leave. Dan needs to leave when he's got a bunch of wins under his belt, where he can leave with a lot of points on the scoreboard. And what does the scoreboard look like right now? Well, the answer to that is Operation Summer Heat. Operation Summer Heat was an epic refocusing of the FBI on violent crime in America's cities everywhere. They arrested thousands of violent criminals at levels never seen before. They got the FBI off of the terrible, disastrous, tyrannical behavior of the past, where it was targeting parents who go to school board meetings and Catholics who go to Latin masses and people who sing church hymns outside of abortion mills. That was not happening anymore. That has not been happening anymore under the leadership of Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. Instead, they focused the FBI on its actual mission, catching the bad guys. And boy, they've caught a lot of them. They've gone after the vicious 764 network, getting child predators off the streets. They've been rescuing children by the thousands from horrific conditions. They've been going in, they've been saving them. They have found the secrets inside of the FBI, literally rooms filled with secrets that the FBI had been keeping from the public about its tyrannical abuses of us, the American people. And then they've exposed all of that. These guys have remained sincere throughout it. And the other big thing, obviously, the big item that you and I have been talking about at some length in the past week is he caught the pipe bomber. Dan went in with a mission. We're going to catch this guy. And he told the people around him, show me the case files, open everything up, and you will catch this man. And that's what they did. He worked with, Ed Martin, the guy who is inside the Justice Department, former U.S. attorney now in Washington, D.C., in dogged pursuit of the pipe bomber. And that story just concluded with an arrest and an indictment. A massive, massive win after all these years of scant information on what's going on in that case. So yeah, no, Dan has had a very productive and successful year. They've fired a lot of people. They've reassigned a lot of people. They've worked to clean up an FBI that really has been a complete dumpster fire, truly. And that's the other part of this. Think about what Kash and Dan have inherited. These guys are the inheritors of an agency with one of the single worst reputations in the American public ever. So of course people are going to express skepticism and doubt directed at the agency, and these guys are going to catch some strays as a result. They knew that going in. And I know, knowing Dan Bongino, that he's always considered himself in this role to be a public servant. He knows, of course, that there would be arrows that were launched in his direction. It's part of the job. Anybody who raises their hand to serve the country should expect that the rest of them are going to hold them accountable. Makes total sense, actually. It is literally part of the job. But he's leaving, and he should be leaving with his head held high. A big announcement from Dan Bongino. Very cool to see he's coming back. Which brings me to the coming back portion of this. I want to talk about that with you because my guess is you're very excited about what comes next. Well, me too. Let me just confirm a basic element to this. Dan is leaving the FBI. You heard him say it, and I'll just tell you that he's leaving in early January. That is true. What comes next? Well, that's, of course, up to Dan to announce. Dan will be clearly sharing a lot more than just this tweet that we got from him yesterday, and I'm very excited to see what he has to say on the subject. But there's no doubt that Dan gets behind a microphone again, that Dan talks to you again, that Dan, in the words of the President of the United States, I think he's pretty substantially tipped his hand as to what comes next, that Dan wants to return to his show, the President says, which is great. This is something that I've been super excited about all year long. I mean, I just want to remind people, and perhaps there is someone in this audience who came to us in this intervening year who didn't realize this, but the audience that I'm speaking to now is almost entirely an audience that was built by Dan Bongino. Of course, This is Dan's audience, the Bongino Army. The Bongino Army is awesome. One of the things I've loved this year, as I've gotten to know everybody sincerely, is how amazing and patriotic and dedicated this audience is to this country. It's been one of the joys of my life, actually, to get to know all of you. Very cool. And you're hilarious. You keep me on my toes. You're really funny. You have all sorts of great comments in the chat. And I love interacting with you both on the podcast each day and on the radio show. It's just been like the best thing ever, actually. And so when I say you're the best audience ever, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. It's just been the absolute best audience I've ever been able to deal with and to work with as we do these shows every day. But I got to say, this whole year so far has been a dream. I if I can, because as a point of personal privilege and because I think, this is entirely relevant to the news cycle that we're in, I just want you to remember the timeline of how this all went down. In the beginning of this year, it was very clear Dan was on the verge of making a public announcement that he'd be heading off to the FBI. He and I had a conversation in that phase because Dan knew what was coming next. And he asked me if I'd be willing to step into the role of speaking to this audience on a routine basis while he was gone. And I had a chance to obviously talk to my wife about it, to talk to Allison. And we thought about what we wanted to do, and excited by the opportunity, but realizing that, of course, in any job change, anytime you do something where everything changes, it impacts your family. And we came to an agreement that, yeah, this is it. Let's try this. Let's do this. I think it's going to be fun and wonderful. And one of the reasons Dan approached me about this is because I already had, some of you will know, especially if you've been longtime radio listeners, that I already had a rapport with this audience to an extent. I'd been a fill-in host on Dan Bongino's radio show at the time, and I had established a great relationship with the audience, and Dan detected that, and as a friend, he asked me if I would step in and enhance this role to the next level. Well, it's been great. On March 17th of this year, of course, everything became official because Dan went off to become the deputy director of the FBI, and I began hosting the show that we now refer to as Vince. This is Vince, the show you're listening to right now, reaching the Dan Bongino podcast feed, the Dan Bongino Rumble audience, and it's just been a spectacular ride all along. Throughout that time, I mean, this show really has been one of the only places that I think has given you the honest truth about what is going on at the FBI, what achievements they actually do have, not constantly trying to figure out ways to shit on them, but definitely trying to figure out ways to tell you what's actually happening. We had a saga earlier this year with the United States Department of Justice where Pam Bondi came out and promised all sorts of Epstein files and then didn't deliver on them. And then there was some stupid letter that came out that suggested that, they're not going to be able to release anymore. And like you, I crapped all over that. I was like, that's the craziest thing ever. You can't do that. That's a weird rug pull. Stop doing that. That's insane. And so it's been a very interesting year, to say the least. But throughout it, for those of you who've been with me all year, you know that I've been excited for Dan to return for a number of reasons. One of them is I knew that the second Dan decided he would leave the FBI, it was only under that condition that I mentioned before, that he had something to show for it, that he had wins on the scoreboard that he could leave with, and then go on to talk to his audience about what they were able to achieve and what he encountered inside of that agency. That's definitely what I'm looking forward to. I want to know what he knows. I want to know what he has seen. I want to know how difficult that job is. And by the way, I do know that it's difficult. I know that. I've talked to people who work in and around that environment who say that Dan and Cash have a very real fight on their hands, that the firings need to continue and hirings of new people, new blood, need to continue inside of that agency. There's a lot of barriers to that kind of change. And I'm eager to hear Dan talk about it when he gets an opportunity to get back behind a microphone. Very eager. He's gonna have a lot to say. And so one of the reasons I'm excited about Dan coming back, in addition to just hearing from him, is I'm excited for what comes next for all of us. Now, for those of you who are wondering about this, what's the impact on you, Vince? Well, here's the impact. I'm not going anywhere. First of all, I'm still alive. Thank the good Lord, I'm still alive. I'll still be creating content all the time. Nothing, by the way, absolutely nothing changes about the radio show. I've received a lot of questions about the radio show. Are you leaving radio? No, I'm not leaving radio. I'm not going anywhere. The radio show is one of the single most successful radio shows in the country. I'm not saying that merely to brag, although I kind of am. I'm also saying it because The ratings are sky high. The business makes total sense for us to have a never-ending radio show because it's truly one of the most successful radio shows in the entire country right now. And I am grateful to you, the audience that has made that possible. It is massive. In fact, the success of the radio show has far exceeded my expectations. And I love radio. It's just been a total blast. So yes, no, that's continuing. Hopefully for many, many, many years to come. That's going to be a total blast. So if you're ever looking for me, no matter what happens, I'm always going to be on the big national radio show. And then as far as podcasting is concerned, we'll see what the future holds. Is this a world where maybe we get some Silverlock magic going throughout this? Yeah, I think that it is the world that we're going into. The Bonginos have built a great company, Silverlock. And as you know, Haley Karania is doing an amazing job each evening on the Evening Scroll. You can see that live on Rumble at 6 p.m. And she's got an amazing podcast. She's just doing great work. That falls under the Silverlock banner. That's the Bongino family operation. And it's just been great. I can envision a world where we see the Dan Bongino show. I got the Dan Bongino show mug. Return to the airwaves. We'll of course hear from him. And I would be super pumped to be a part of all of that as well as we go into the future, because it's been great to do this year, and I think we've got a lot more to build on. We could build a really big, seismic, and meaningful operation going into the future. So we'll see what the future holds. I'm really excited about it. No matter what happens, very excited about all this. The other thing that I'm excited about is to have Dan's voice back, not just to tell us about what's going on, but to tell us about how to think about the country. We're heading into critical midterms, really, really critical midterms. And in 2026, we need every warrior on the battlefield. We need everybody. Everybody. I've been saying to this audience that, whatever blessings you have in life, whatever God has given you, you are called upon to use those blessings to their fullest. You ever feel like you haven't lived up to the things that you can live up to? Or perhaps maybe from the outside, maybe you view a kid in your life or somebody that you care about, and you're like, you're not living up to your potential. You have so much untapped potential. Live up to it. I just want to see you do that. Well, I think that's true in all of our own lives. We have untapped potential that we haven't lived up to. And we have a country that we have to save. So in whatever capacity you can do that, whether it's volunteering at polls or being a poll watcher or being a part of a campaign or calling your congressman or your senator, browbeating them into submission to make the country better, getting votes out in any capacity, just fighting even at the local level, of course, and importantly at the local level, whatever it takes. I think we're all called upon to double our efforts going into this coming year, because we really are in a perilous moment in American history. It's one that's filled with both promise and peril. President Trump is back in office because of your work. It's 2025 now, baby. In 24, we made the election too big to rig. We sent President Trump in, and he's doing his part. Soon I'll talk about the big speech he gave last night, kind of an inventory of the last year and where we're going from here. But President Trump can't do this on his own. He needs the rest of us to be a part of it. And Dan Bongino, no doubt, is going to play a massive, massive role once again, in advancing us forward as a country and making the case for why it's so important that we all fight together to save her. It's as simple as that. So, how are we feeling today? I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling grateful for the role that Dan has played. I want to congratulate him on the successes that he's had, and he's had many. I'm eager to hear from him, and I'm eager to get him back in the fight on this side of the microphone so that we can all fight together to win these midterms and continue to make this country great again. I'm looking forward to all of that. And I'm also looking forward to whatever role I can play in all of this, which I'm just always eternally grateful. I'm very grateful. If I haven't expressed it enough, I'm very grateful to Dan and Paula Bongino for the trust that they've placed in me this year. And for being so warm and welcoming to my family. It's just been great. It's just been great. They truly are. They're exactly what you think they are, which is wonderful. They're the same people in person as you've come to know through the years. So thank you. And congratulations, Dan. It's really good. Any questions? Hey, chat, any questions for me? Any questions whatsoever? I figure this is one of those moments where maybe we should just do a quick Q&A with the chat if there's anybody. You fire away on the questions. I'm gonna tell you about the great sponsors of this program. Blackout Coffee just wonderful, has been firing up our show all year long. Great sponsor, Blackout Coffee. They've been with us for years. They've been with Dan for years. Probably the official coffee of all of us here at Silverlock. There's a reason for that. It's bold, unapologetic, America First coffee, roasted fresh, right here in the United States. Right here. This isn't grocery store junk. Blackout Coffee delivers rich, high-quality roasts that actually taste like freedom. And now you can set it and you can forget it with auto refill and recurring delivery. This means no more running out, no more watered-down backups, just your favorite roast delivered fresh on your schedule. Pick your favorite roast, how often you want it delivered, and not only do you get a discount, you also get double the rewards and free shipping right to your doorstep. Pretty awesome. And Blackout Coffee, it's delicious. I drink my coffee black, so I know good coffee. It's phenomenal. It is so good. It is so good. Here's what you do. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Use the code Vince. That's VINCE. Get 20% off your first order. Whether you're into the bold, dark roasts, flavored coffee, or even instant, Blackout's got your back. Real coffee, no compromise. Blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Get yours now. Get yours now. Blackout Coffee. Thank you to Blackout. A lot of nice notes in the chat. Thank you, guys. People do love Blackout Coffee. Will we continue to air the radio show on Rumble? Excellent question, AJD. I don't have an answer for you on that just yet. A lot of this is going to be, there's some of these things are things I just don't know the answer to. And it's going to come down to schedules and what Silverlock wants to do and how we deliver all of this. But my hope is that we have a Rumble feed for the radio show going forward. We'll see about that. So let's table that for now. I think that you and Dan having your own shows will be great, says Paulie Walnuts. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that would be absolutely phenomenal. Are you going to tag team with Dan? Asks TS Cast 1018. Once a week, month, etc. That would be awesome. Here's what I want, TS Cast. I want to do, first of all, through the years, I've been tag teaming with Dan insofar as we've had a great relationship. We've been working together on all sorts of things, outside of the FBI, of course, before he ever went in there. Of course. Whatever that means going forward, I stand shoulder to shoulder with Dan. I'm very excited to fight alongside him, and hopefully we can create some great content together. I do want to get. I'd like to. I've impressed upon Dan, and hopefully we can do this. Although he'll definitely be monologuing on the subject. I would love to interview him at some point. I think that would be wonderful too. A chance to just ask him some questions about what he encountered would be good. Sean Comiskey says, "Are you still going to be based in D.C.?" Yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan for now in the D.C. area. Still be based in the D.C. area. We've just been here for a very long time, 15 years. Been raising my family here in the D.C. area, and so that's the intention to stick around for now. So if you're following along at home, what that means is Dan of course lives in Florida, and I'll be living in the D.C. area. We're going to try and cover the country here a little bit. What do we got? Dan isn't doing the national radio show. Well, I'm leaving whatever Dan's announcements. That's E. Barberi's asking. So Dan isn't going to do his national radio show anymore. Well, whatever announcements Dan has to make on anything he's doing in the future, he can make. I'm just telling you that the radio show position that I occupy right now, the 12 to 3 Eastern time national radio show, that continues. It's been a wonderful success. And that's not going anywhere. That's not changing at all in the midst of all of this. And we're going to keep having a good time with that. It's just been a total blast, and that's going to continue. Do I think Dan will be... Who gets Justin? Oh, that's a great question. Oh, that's a wonderful question. Who gets Justin? Well, let's be honest. I think the answer to that question is going to tell Justin a lot. So let's game this out. You ready? So if Dan ends up with Justin, going forward, what that means is Justin is just at the absolute top of the game. There's no question. Dan gets first dibs on everybody, and so Dan takes Justin. I don't know. There's nothing I can do about it. Justin goes to Dan. Justin's the absolute best. If Justin ends up with me, I'm sorry, Justin. We'll see. I don't. That's, by the way, Dan has Justin. That's the answer to your question. Dan gets to decide Justin's fate. We should do like a whole reality show based on that. I think that'd be fun too. What about Major? Yeah, Major is going to be totally fine. I don't even think Major has no idea that I even do this. All Major knows is that I feed him and that he likes sleeping in my bed, and he's hilarious, and he's just wonderful. So no, Major's going to be perfectly fine. Major's life, once again, is not going to change at all. It's going to be the same exact thing all of the time. You're not going to lose me at all. Some people are saying, we don't want to lose you. You're not going to lose me. We're all in this together. It's going to be really great. All right. Any other questions? Oh, what is my biggest concern for our country? Oh, well, I mean, thank you, Hernie and McGroin, asking this. What's my biggest concern? My biggest concern is that we lose our way and by extension lose our country. That's my biggest concern. You know, you and I have watched the betrayal of our country over these last years, and we're horrified by it. We're also activated by it at levels that we've never been activated. And that's because the left kicked our borders open. They imported a lot of people who have no interest in assimilating into this country, many of whom are actively enemies to this country, who commit crimes against us, who steal from us. And as a result, I really worry about what I keep referring to as that Tower of Babel effect, that the whole thing collapses in upon itself when we have nothing in common, we don't share a common language, you feel like a stranger in your own country, and all sorts of chaos has been actively invited in at our expense. I hate all of that. So what do I worry about? I worry about losing sight of what made this country great in the first place. I worry about losing our vocabulary. I worry about losing our sense of history. I worry about losing our appreciation for God above, for a sense of the eternal. I worry about the demons winning. I worry about us losing the spiritual war. I worry about the impact this is going to have on my child. I worry that the country that I know and love is not going to be there for my grandchildren. These are my worries. My worries are, what does my country look like going into the future? And is it possible to turn this aircraft carrier around, to take that big swing and head back in the proper direction? Is it possible to do that? There's been a lot of signs of success, by the way. This is why there are people out there who are dedicated to blackpilling, and then there are people out there who are dedicated to the rosiest possible vision all the time. I try as best I can to give you a realist sense of the world. I worry about all of those things, but I do appreciate the victories that we've had. So when you see the defund the police movement defeated, which of course has happened, when you see the entire country say in unison that there is no such thing as a boy pretending to be a girl or a girl pretending to be a boy, or boys shouldn't play in girl sports, or you shouldn't mutilate children, or, or any of these things. These are wins. We have reclaimed territory. Sanity is prevailing against the left. Now, it doesn't mean the left has given up on that cruelty, but it does mean that we've had victories. On the fight for life, we've had victories. Roe v. Wade was overturned. I mean, there are things that we can be very happy about. America's border is now secure at levels that none of us have seen in our entire lives. I mean, in our entire lives. President Trump has done that. That's a massive victory, restoring our sovereignty, bringing about these peace deals around the planet. That's huge. So are things moving in some proper and good directions? Absolutely. But yeah, no, I worry about what happens if we lose it all. And we're very close to that. We're unfortunately very close to that. You're always a generation away from losing it if you don't fight hard for it. So we're being called to fight for it right now, which goes back to the point that I've been making this entire program. I'm super pumped that Dan Bongino is rejoining the fight on this side of the microphone. I can't wait to see it. And I've been so grateful to be a part of it this year. You guys are the best, truly are. Truly are. Keep the questions coming, and I'll try and answer everybody as we go. Okay, let's, in a moment, I want to get into the President of the United States and what he is saying. He gave a big address to the nation last night. What'd the media think of it? They crapped all over it, of course. I'll get to that. It's all ahead right here on this edition of Vince. You know, this Christmas, I was just talking about life. We celebrate life. We love life. We love life. And, it's just amazing. How does the other side love death so much? Why be obsessed with death? I love life. I love life, and you do too. We have an opportunity right now to share the gift of life with a mother and her baby. Just imagine a young woman who's facing an unplanned pregnancy, unsure of what to do, and she's searching for hope. This is where Preborn Ministries comes in. Preborn Ministries comes in. Yeah. You know, at Christmas, we celebrate the gift of Christ's life, Christ coming into this world. It's amazing. So as we do that, we should celebrate every life that comes into this world. And we should help mothers welcome those lives and help them to flourish. And that's what preborn does. Every mother that preborn serves faces a moment of decision where she sees her baby's ultrasound. In that sacred moment, she's got the opportunity to say yes. Preborn's mission is to help her find the courage, faith, and support to do this. So this Christmas, for just $28, you can help save a life. And let me tell you something right now. You know, we are just days away from Christmas. If there is someone in your life that you care about, that you're still trying to figure out, what do I get them? I have no idea what to get them. Get them this. Help preborn in their name. Do that. I guarantee you this will be one of the most meaningful gifts that you ever give. It's a life, these lives that we're talking about could change the world. Thanks to a special matching grant through the end of the year, your gift is doubled. Your gift is doubled. That's really cool. To donate, dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, baby, or go to preborn.com/Vince. That's preborn.com/Vince. Thank you to Preborn. Wonderful operation. I am Topher 7. Much respect to you, Vince. Thank you. Much respect to you guys. Much respect to you guys. You guys are really great. Okay, let's get to... we have one more thing to share with everyone, Guy? All right, I'll get... Okay, good. Guy's telling me... Oh, yeah, MD Hearing. MD Hearing's a great sponsor of our program this year. Thank you, MD Hearing. And they got a great product. You know this? My dad, the Marine General, everybody knows the Marine General. My dad, he's great. Somebody just said yesterday, he's like, Vince, you gonna have him back on your radio show soon? I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Everybody wants to hear from him. My dad's gonna come back on the radio show soon. We'll talk to him, find out what he thinks of everything that's going on in the world. Does he like blowing up bad guys? The answer to that is yes, he does. You know, his hearing, thanks to being in the military and thanks to all those years of explosions and everything else, his hearing's been going. And so in other words, it's kind of tough for him to hear at the dinner table, especially in a restaurant where things get really loud and there's a lot of noise in the room. But he's had a lot of help from these MD hearing aids. I gave him the MD hearing aids. It's made a huge difference. Huge. And this podcast, of course, is sponsored by MD Hearing. It's 2025. Are you still paying thousands of dollars for hearing aids that barely work? Well, MD Hearing makes very high-quality, rechargeable hearing aids with crystal clear sound personalized to your hearing profile at a fraction of the cost. Their Neo model costs over 90% less than clinic hearing aids. The Neo fits discreetly inside your ear, and now there's the Neo XS. It's the smallest MD hearing aid ever. Now, I love MD Hearing because it's affordable without sacrificing any quality. Over 2 million sold, plus 45-day risk-free trial for you and 100% money-back guarantee. It's a great product. Get the high-quality, affordable hearing aids you deserve with MD Hearing. Go to shopmdhearing.com. Use the promo code Vince and get a pair of hearing aids for just $297. Plus, they're adding a free extra charging case, $100 value, just for you, for listeners of Vince. That's shopmdhearing.com. Use our promo code Vince. Get a pair of hearing aids for just $297. Thank you, MD Hearing. All right, let's talk about the President of the United States. He gives a big address last night to the nation. It was just under 20 minutes long. And what was interesting about this speech, there's a lot to say about it. But one, it was just it was a very hopeful recitation of all of the positive things the Trump administration has done this past year and a look forward to all the things that they want to do, all the ambitions that President Trump has to keep trying to improve the country. Interesting about the speech, President Trump stuck to the teleprompter. And I think the reason for this is because the White House was trying to stick to a tight window of time so they can make sure that the broadcast networks carried every minute of it. And so President Trump stuck to the script for timing purposes last night. So in so doing, what was unusual about it was it didn't consist of a ton of ad lib. He wasn't off teleprompter. He wasn't, looking in every direction, talking about all these other things. He was just sticking to the script that he had in front of him. And so, of course, just because everything's a wrap-up smear with the press, a lot of the reaction last night was like, well, that was strange. We've never seen Trump like this. That's so crazy. What is he doing? He's falling apart. What do you mean he's falling apart? He read a script. He read his speech. And so he's falling apart. How about shut up? How about this is so stupid? And why are you people even being treated in any way as neutral arbiters of the words that are coming out of the President of the United States? Why don't we just listen to the President himself? Here he is going back over the past 11 months of the 47th presidency of the United States. Take a listen.
When I took office, inflation was the worst in 48 years, and some would say in the history of our country. which caused prices to be higher than ever before, making life unaffordable for millions and millions of Americans. This happened during a Democrat administration, and it's when we first began hearing the word affordability. Our border was open, and because of this, our country was being invaded by an army of 25 million people, many who came from prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums. They were drug dealers, gang members, and even 11,888 murderers, more than 50% of whom killed more than one person. This is what the Biden administration allowed to happen to our country, and it can never be allowed to happen again. We had men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody, crime at record levels. Over the past 11 months, we have brought more positive change to Washington than any administration in American history. There's never been anything like it.
Yeah, look, what he's talking about is the Biden hangover. The Biden hangover is real. They added a tremendous amount to our national debt. They kicked our borders wide open. They imported tens of millions of people. They have caused a lot of chaos in our country. A lot of children brought across those borders and turned over to slavery and sex abuse. Just utter demonic disaster. So President Trump is basically making an obvious point, which is like, I got to clean this up. So we go from the Biden hangover to the strong cup of coffee and cold shower that President Trump is providing to the country. We got to sober everybody up here. We got to fix this thing. I got a huge mess on my hands. And have they had success this year? They definitely have. I mentioned the border, and so did the president. Cut two. Watch the president last night.
Starting on day one, I took immediate action to stop the invasion of our southern border. For the past 7 months, 0 illegal aliens have been allowed into our country, a feat which everyone said was absolutely impossible. Do you remember when Joe Biden said that he needed Congress to pass legislation to help close the border? He was always blaming Congress and everyone else. As it turned out, we didn't need legislation. We just needed a new president. We inherited the worst border anywhere in the world, and we quickly turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country.
This border achievement is right there at the top of the list. I mean, if you can't give this man credit for what he's done on our border, you are either willfully blind or you're an idiot. I mean, it's just or just a Democrat. It's just a Democrat. It's like the guy has sealed the border up tight. It was even like Hakeem Jeffries a couple weeks ago was asked about this. CNN was like, well, you can give him credit for fixing the border, right? And even Hakeem Jeffries was like, in his own slow dial-up Democrat brain kind of way, yes. Yeah. Okay, well, that's a sign. Here's your sign. President Trump has sealed up the border. Wonderful. I love that. Let's see. We also have all the drugs that were coming into the country. You know, we're blowing up drug boats, right? It's had a positive effect. We seal up the border. We're killing drug dealers trying to get into the country. Well, that means we're slowing the drugs entirely that have been coming into the country and killing over 100,000 Americans a year. Cut three. Here's the president last night.
Drugs brought in by ocean and by sea are now down 94%. We have broken the grip of sinister woke radicals in our schools, and control over those schools is back now in the hands of our great and loving states where education belongs. After rebuilding the United States military in my first term, and with the addition we are adding right now, we have the most powerful military anywhere in the world, and it's not even close. I've restored American strength, settled 8 wars in 10 months, destroyed the Iran nuclear threat, and ended the war in Gaza, bringing for the first time in 3,000 years peace to the Middle East, and secured the release of the hostages, both living and dead.
Both living and dead. You know, he listed off a lot of real successes that he's had this year on foreign policy. There was something I mentioned yesterday on our program that I was hoping he would do last night, but he did not do this, which is to get into a little bit more detail about the blockade of Venezuela. He's posted some on Truth Social about it, but he did not talk at any length last night about the fact that the United States Navy is blockading all of the oil going in and out of Venezuela right now. I still think it would be good to see an address on this, even if it's not from the president of the United States himself. Perhaps J.D. Vance or Pete Hegseth could do this. But whenever we send out the military in such big numbers to engage in action like this, it's always, I think, super important to get the American people to buy into it. And as I mentioned yesterday, and for those of you interested in what is going on in Venezuela, there's no doubt that the Maduro regime, and before that, the Hugo Chavez regime, has been stealing from the American people like crazy, stealing from the American oil industry, which, by the way, built the oil operations in Venezuela. America did that. And when President Trump says they've been stealing from us and that ends now, he's right about that. And I would go check out yesterday's show for more details on all of that. I kind of run through the history of it with Venezuela and all of the damage they've caused with those ill-gotten gains. That's legit. It's funny, though, speaking of that, I did see some reaction yesterday. There were some lefties who were like, what? America didn't build the oil industry. Down there, it was just private companies that did that. That's the difference between you and us. That's the difference. You don't think. So when the left thinks about what America did, Obama did this too. Remember the "you didn't build that" thing? You didn't build that. You didn't build that. The left views the only way America does something is through government expenditures. That's their view. That's their view. So in other words, like Thomas Edison and the light bulb would not be credited to any great American achievement. That wouldn't be. No, well, the government wasn't involved in that, so that doesn't count. No, it does, actually. It's a great American achievement. It's a great American achievement. American industry succeeding is a great American achievement. The American energy industry is a great American achievement. It's the American spirit. It's free enterprise. It is success. It is all the stuff that made America great. These are American achievements. The left doesn't view it that way. The left, in fact, views the success of private industry as some sort of evil. It's not. It's a great feature of America, not a bug. And that's how they view it. So it's just, it really stands. As you watch this debate, it's like, okay, we are not the same. We are not the same at all. But yes, I want more information about Venezuela coming out from the Trump administration. That would be worthwhile. The president did talk about the military last night. He made a big announcement that the left was instantly pissed off about, which is he's giving bonuses to the troops. And the value of the bonus, you ready? $17.76. Take a look at this.
Tonight, I am also proud to announce that more than 1,450,000, think of this, 1,450,000 military service members will receive a special, we call Warrior Dividend before Christmas, a Warrior Dividend. In honor of our nation's founding in 1776, we are sending every soldier $1,776. Think of that. And the checks are already on the way.
Checks are already on the way. I saw one Democrat lady was on TV last night. She's like, they can't even pay for rent in Washington, D.C. They can't pay for rent in Washington, D.C.? What? I mean, first of all, how decadent is your worldview? How closed in and in the bubble is your worldview? Most troops, almost all of them, they don't even live in Washington, D.C. What are you talking about? And you telling me $1,776 isn't going to get some mileage with the troops? It's a huge deal. What a blessing at Christmas to be able to get that kind of bonus. Of course, the left is rooting against it. They're rooting against it because they don't want to see Donald Trump get any credit for doing something good, and because they're constantly rooting against the troops anyway. No, I'm glad about it. Thank you, Mr. President. And he points out that this is from some of the money that's come in, not from our tax dollars, but instead from tariffs. That the tariff revenues are the source of this revenue, and so he's turning it around and giving it to the troops. That perfectly proper, I think. Perfectly proper to express that kind of gratitude to our troops, and it comes at a perfect time as we go into the 250th anniversary of the United States. Yeah, 1776 at the commissary. You're right. Arian Adkins says that's going to go a long way at the commissary. Yeah, it's going to go a very long way at the commissary. Very long way. Also, for the rest of us, not just those of you in the military, we're going to see tax cuts coming through. So here's cut 5. President Trump talking about the effects of the big, beautiful bill. This is a big message going into the midterms. What have you done for us? Well, we cut your taxes. Watch this.
Next year, you will also see the results of the largest tax cuts in American history that were really accomplished through our great big, beautiful bill, perhaps the most sweeping legislation ever passed in Congress. We wrapped 12 different bills up into one beautiful bill. That includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Under these cuts, many families will be saving between $11,000 and $20,000 a year, and next spring is projected to be the largest tax refund season of all time.
Yeah, that's going to be a big deal. I think, ultimately, when it comes to elections, the closer to home the impact of American politics comes, the more likely it is that people will actually go to the polls to vote. If you see some meaningful change in the quality of your life, if you are paying less at the pump, for instance, as a percentage of your budget than you've been in over 2 decades, well, you feel that. You can see it on the sign in your streets. You feel it when you swipe the credit card at the pump. You know what's happening. And by the way, that is what's happening. Right now, Americans are paying the lowest as a percentage of their own budgets for gas that they've paid in over 2 decades. That's a very big deal. That's a very big deal. President Trump talking about last night how well American energy has done. So that's a huge thing. And then, of course, like if your taxes are coming down and if you're getting massive refunds after tax day this year in April, then you're going to look at that and go, well, how'd that happen? Well, that was Trump. That was the Republican Party. So you've got this strong case going into the midterms, and these guys would do very well to hit it. Part of the message last night was to remind the rest of these Republicans, some of whom, couldn't find their ass with 2 hands, that this is the way you should be talking. You should be talking about these successes, getting out there, fanning across the country, and telling people about all the great things that they have access to thanks to the hard work of President Trump and whatever Republicans have supported him in Congress. That's what you need to do. You need a positive vision. This idea that like everyone needs to be fighting each other and we need to go in with some dour vision of what the future holds, it's not going to work. You're not going to get people out to the polls that way. You got to demonstrate that you've succeeded for them, and you have to promise you're going to do more. That's it. It's as simple as that. It's the economy, stupid. All right, so more on that. Here's the president talking about the health insurance companies last night. Just imagine being a Democrat watching this and being like, wait a second. Trump is taking on the insurance companies? Everybody told me that he's in bed with them. Watch this. Here's President Trump, cut 6 last night.
I'm also taking on the gigantic health insurance companies that have gotten rich on billions of dollars of money that should go directly to the people. The money should go to the people. That's you. So they can buy their own health insurance, which will give far better benefits at much lower costs. It will be far better health insurance. The current Unaffordable Care Act was created to make insurance companies rich. It was bad health care at much too high a cost. And you see that now in the steep increase in premiums being demanded by the Democrats, and they are demanding those increases, and it's their fault. It is not the Republicans' fault. It's the Democrats' fault.
Yeah, this is great. This is great. And this is that's a mind-blowing experience if you're a Democrat who's been misled by all of your stupid distortion filters that you consume on a routine basis. You're watching that and going, wait, he's trying to fight back against the insurance companies? I'm sorry, what did I miss? What is this? Now, that's not a surprise to you. That's not a surprise to me. This is one of the reasons we voted for him, to break the crony corruption that has not led to improvements in healthcare, that has made it way less efficient and has made it prohibitively expensive. Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, is no such thing. The cost of healthcare has skyrocketed due to the crony scheme that Obama and the Democrats developed with the insurance companies that merely lines the pockets of those insurance companies and then screws the rest of us. How about no more? How about none of that shit? So President Trump comes out and he goes, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop letting the insurance companies get all the money. We'll just populate health savings accounts for Americans, and they can figure out what they want to buy. And we will make this work a lot better. Well, that's a step in the right direction if I've ever heard of one. Getting away from the corrupt deal and getting to something that actually takes care of Americans, that's what we need. I mean, here's a basic question. I don't even really need to get into too many statistics. How much have your healthcare costs gone up? Has the quality of your healthcare improved since Obamacare came out? Have your premiums gone down? Have your deductibles gone down? Is it easier to see a specialist now? Are you able to keep the same doctor that you once had? The answer to all of those questions for almost everybody is no. It's no. Everything's become much worse, much worse. And for those of you in the medical industry, you'll know this too. There's a big problem that Obamacare created: paperwork. You know how much government paperwork Obamacare created? A lot. So much so that doctors can't even see patients so much of the time because they're consumed with government paperwork. What if, here's a crazy idea, what if there was less government paperwork and more available appointments for patients? What would that do? Here's an economics question for you. If the supply of doctor's appointments goes up, what does the cost of healthcare do? It goes down because there's more chances to see doctors. But this is not complicated stuff. These are simple economic principles. Yet the government interfered, got involved, had a corrupt arrangement, and screwed the rest of us over. Time to fix it. President Trump is doing that. So that's good. I like that he's locked in on this, and I like the mind-blowing experience that lefties were having last night as they were watching all of this. Like, what? He's taking on the insurance companies? Yep. Yeah, he is. Let's see. Finally, I want to end here with you today on the president's remarks. He said, look, we're going into 2026. It's a huge year in American history. This is the 250th year of our country. So we're going to be celebrating America 250 all year long. Here's the president last night commenting on the opportunity we have to restore American patriotism. Cut 8. Watch this.
Soon we will host the World Cup and the Olympics, both of which I got. But most importantly, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. There could be no more fitting tribute to this epic milestone than to complete the comeback of America that began just 1 year ago. When the world looks at us next year, let them see a nation that is loyal to its citizens, faithful to its workers, confident to its identity, certain to its destiny, and the envy of the entire globe.
The envy of the entire globe. So I'm really looking forward to that. I've said it before. I think people are missing this a lot, that America 250 is going to be a massive, massive opportunity for the country next year to really kind of sit in that moment, marinate in the patriotism of our country and what made it great in the first place. President Trump, unlike any other president, very capable messenger on that. I think that's going to be a big deal going into the midterms. Now, as far as the economy is concerned, you know, last night President Trump gives that address, and then promptly all of these idiots in the press start crapping all over it. What is he talking about? The economy's not doing well at all. Everything's terrible. Really? Because we just got inflation reports this morning. This morning, as we're beginning the program today, we get an inflation report telling us that things are looking very good. The Financial Times reports that U.S. inflation just unexpectedly fell to 2.7% in November. It walloped the Wall Street expectations. They thought it was going to be well above 3%. Nope, it's beneath that. It's at 2.7%. This is great data. And here is CNBC this morning reading these numbers live on the air, stunned by what they just heard.
The number of the morning, the CPI, maybe coming in a little bit better than expected. 2.7%, a little light here. I'm just reading the headlines here. Year over year, 2.7. Ex-food and energy core, 2.6. So 0.4 off. That is a very good number here. And it really, I have not looked at the internals. I'll look at them now, but it suggests that the internals are good as well. Let's see, year over year, over the last 12 months. There is no month to month, but some guys will be able to calculate. Seasonally adjusted index for all items less food and energy rose 0.2% over the 2 months. So correct my math here, Michael Santoli, but 0.2 divided by 2 is 0.1.
Yeah.
So therefore, that's a very, very low monthly rate here. The index for shelter increase, so you did get a really nice decline in shelter, which was 0.2. So that was 0.1 per month.
Yeah, so basically the CNBC readout, I was like, holy crap, actually, the numbers look really good. In fact, in case you're wondering how good they are, look no further than CNN this morning. CNN had one of their experts on, a Harvard expert. He went to Harvard. And he says, yeah, actually, this is all good news. I don't really know how to talk about this other than the fact that it's good news. Watch this.
I mean, I was surprised. It was a better number than anyone was expecting. Look, inflation's been very high. It stayed high. It has not been coming down. But, people were expecting it to be above 3%. It was well below 3%. I mean, I think the president will take this as good news. The investors will think that interest rates will get cut more. So, it was a positive news. There's no other way to spin it.
There's no other way to spin it. I would love to, but I don't really know how to. Well, crap. It's good news. I'll take it. My in-house economist, E.J. Antoni, posting on social media today that inflation right now, core CPI in November at 2.6% year over year. It's the coolest print since March of 2021. The coolest inflation number, meaning inflation's getting down, which is good news. That means the cost of everything is not going up quite as quickly. That's good to hear. Also, wages have gone up. Wages have been outpacing inflation. President Trump talked about that last night, which means that it takes a little bit of the pressure off of American households. Did I say we're done? No, I didn't. Don't you confuse me. Don't you confuse my remarks. I'm telling you that we've got a long way to go, but this is a positive trend. This is the trend you want, and a great report to start the day. Today on the big national radio show, a lot more to discuss there coming up, including the Brown University investigation. I've got to get into the details there. These guys, I said it yesterday, and let me reiterate again. I don't believe that they're merely incompetent. They are engaged actively in a cover-up at Brown. They're engaged in a cover-up. They are refusing to tell you things you deserve to know about the horrific murder of those students, including the vice president of the college Republicans, last weekend at Brown University. We'll explore all of the latest details on that subject and all of the glaring omissions by those officials, those Democrats in Providence, Rhode Island. We'll hit that today on the big national radio show. A lot to get to. If you're looking for your local listings for the radio show, go to thevinceshow.com. That's where you can find your local listings. Or join us on Rumble, rumble.com/Vince. You can watch us live right there. And while you're here, subscribe, baby. Subscribe to the show if you're not already subscribed. Make sure to do that. And I've got another big show for you tomorrow. We're heading into Christmas. We are heading into Christmas. Oh, and real quick programming note. I'll tell you more tomorrow. I'll reiterate the point tomorrow. Starting next week, Christmas week, we are off. In fact, this was planned a while ago. This is not related to Dan Bongino leaving the FBI or anything like that. We have 2 weeks off on the podcast. We do have 2 weeks of the live podcast. We'll be off. We do have content for you. We're going to have content for you over the Christmas week and the New Year's week. But the guys have been working their asses off all year. They deserve a break, which is great, a well-deserved Christmas break. So they're going to take it. We're going to take it. Yeah, and say that again, Guy, to me. Say that again. Okay, yeah. Haley Caranillo is going to be guest hosting at the beginning of next week. And we've got Sean Farish coming in to guest host again next week. So it's going to be great. They're doing great. And then I'm back with you when we get started in the new year. It's going to be super exciting. A lot to get to. We've got a lot to get to. As always, you're the best audience anywhere. I'm back with you tomorrow. See you then. Up next, right here on Rumble, Steven Crowder.